Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'll be sharing a story with you. The movie begins with an old monk waking this young boy from his sleep. After doing so, the two head out together where they get on this boat and sail away from their home in the middle of a lake. They soon get to the other side, and they both leave to go find some herbs in the forest. After they do, they head back home. In the next scenes, we have a montage of this boy living his days in his home in the middle of nowhere. Now one day, while finding herbs with his master, the boy decides to sneak off to go to a river and play. He ties a small rock on a string and attaches it to a fish. So with the weight added onto its body, the fish starts having difficult swimming. The boy laughs at its pain, and then goes on to do some other evil act on a frog and snake. However, he doesn't know that his master's watching him do these things from afar. So to punish his young disciple, the old monk takes a huge rock and ties it to the boy while he's asleep at night. Now, of course, when the boy wakes up, he's all shocked by the rock behind his back, asking his master to take it off of him. But his master doesn't do it, and tells him that the only way he'll release him from his misery is if he goes and releases all the animals he tortured yesterday. So with no choice, the boy takes the boat and rides away. He finds that fish that he tortured, but to his horror, he sees the fish had already passed away. This saddens him, but he continues to look for the rest, and sees that the frog is still alive. He quickly removes the rock and lets it swim away. Lastly, he goes to find the snake, but unfortunately, it too had passed. Realizing he just murdered two innocent animals, the boy cries out in sadness while his master watches from behind. So the movie fast forwards a few years ahead, where the boy's now a young man, traveling on the boat to the other side, looking for the master's visitors. He soon finds them, a mother and her daughter. The young monk instantly gets attracted to the daughter, but due to his devotion, he removes his carnal thoughts in his head and takes him to his boat. After giving him a ride, his master greets him, and together they begin an intense praying session. Turns out the daughter's sick, and the mother brought her to find a cure. The mother prays the entire day, all to the night, without any rest, while her daughter lies tired on the ground. The young monk sees this and starts feeling pity for his crush. The next morning, still unable to cure her, the mother decides to leave her with the monks, hoping that they will be able to help her. In the following days, the young monk, who's not used to a girl around, accidentally walks in on her changing. Embarrassed, he quickly closes the door and walks away. The girl then goes to do some praying, and after some time, she falls asleep on the floor. Just then, the young monk comes in and sees it. He grabs a blanket and covers her. However, he soon starts having lustful thoughts and goes to touch her inappropriately under the blanket. That caused her to wake up and immediately slap him. Realizing he had sinned, the young monk quickly goes to pray for forgiveness. The girl sees this and starts seducing him. But just then the master comes in and takes the girl away and leaves. Now one day, as the young monk is returning back, the girl's watching him from afar. He sees this, so he asks her if she would like a ride on the boat, and she agrees. They soon reach the other side, and both of them go for a walk. They end up at a river, where the girl gets mesmerized by some fish. The monk, who doesn't want to disturb her, tries to sneakily see what she's doing, but he accidentally falls into the water, scaring the girl. Turned out the monk had actually helped her catch a fish. He hands it to her and the fish jumps out of her hand. Unable to control those urges, the monk touches the girl again, so she pushes him down and leaves. The next day, our young monk goes to the forest to find some herbs. After he does, he returns to his master and starts grinding up the plants. But he gets all distracted by the girl's beauty, so the master tells him to concentrate. Once the medicine's done, he passes it to the girl, and the master tells her to drink it. Some more days later, the girl is all mesmerized by the monk's cool tricks on the boat. But suddenly he stops and jumps into the lake, worrying the girl. She immediately goes to the edge to look for him. However, when she does, he pulls her into the water and together they both swim to the boat. The monk then takes her to the forest, and finally, giving into his urges, the both of them get frisky with each other. After they're done, the two head back to the house, guilty of what they did. However, our boy doesn't seem to care, because one night the young monk secretly gets out of bed and hops over to his girl's side, spending the night. In the following days, the couple can be seen getting closer to each other, where they would have fun in the day and even more fun in secret at night. However, one morning, the master wakes up to no one in bed, so he goes to find them. And to his horror, he finds the couple on the boat pretty. This disappointed him, so he throws his chickens on board and brings the boat back with a string. He then puts a hole in the boat, letting some water come in. After a while, the water fills up and they wake up. They then head back to the house. There, our young friend is apologizing for his mistake, but his master isn't happy with his actions. So he decides to take the girl away, claiming that she'd been already recovered due to her desire for lust. So with no choice, she leaves, causing the monk to be heartbroken, unable to forget about her. The monk decides to secretly leave in the middle of the night. He takes a Buddha statue, gives a final bow to his master, and leaves with his master's chicken. Soon, many years pass, where the master can be seen eating at home. But just then, he sees the news about a man who had run away from the city after murdering his wife. As he looks closer at this picture, he realizes it's his disciple and feels sorry for him. One day, his disciple returns back to his master, hoping to hide from the police in the house. His master sees him from afar and quickly rows the boat over to bring him back. After he does, his master asks him, "How's life on the outside?" His disciple gets mad and tells him that his wife had slept with another man, which caused him so much hatred that he murdered her. The master tells him that he needs to learn how to let go, but he doesn't listen and heads inside. He returns to the Buddha statue he'd stolen, but suddenly his rage emerges again, so he takes his knife and stabs the ground. He then takes the boat away and goes to a river to vent his anger, with his master watching him from afar. Later, when he gets back, his master asks him to pray, but he doesn't. Instead, he writes the word "shut" on 3 pieces of paper and tries to murder himself by suffocation. But his master sees this and hits him with a stick until his tears wet the paper, which allows him to breathe again. So as a punishment, the master ties him and hangs him up for a few hours. After he's released, he cuts his hair off and comes out. His master, who'd written a bunch of words on the ground, tells him to carve out all the wordings with his knife to drive his anger out, so the disciple obeys him. As he does, 2 cops arrive at the other end and call out to his master. This scares the disciple, but the master ignores his feelings and goes to the cops. He brings the officer back and immediately they recognize and aim their guns at him. But the master asks everyone to stop and tells the police that he has to finish carving out all the words before he can leave. So the police respect the request and wait it out. Soon morning comes around and the disciple finally finishes carving. He falls to the ground, waking the police up. However, they don't arrest him, but instead allow him to sleep. Together with the master, the police start painting the carved out words, while the disciple continues sleeping. After they're done, the master wakes up his disciple and tells him it's time to go. He bows to his master a final time and leaves with the cops. A few days later, the master goes to place some wood on the boat and copies his disciple by writing the word "shut" on pieces of paper. He then places the paper on his face and takes his own life by burning himself alive. Many years later, a man goes to visit the house during winter. He finds no one around, so he begins lighting up the place and starts living in the house. Turns out, the man is the disciple, who is now middle-aged and had just been released from prison. As he's going around the place, he finds a book about Kung Fu and immediately starts practicing it. And over time, he becomes really good at it. One day, a masked woman with a child goes to find him. He lets him pray and stay the night, but when he's asleep, the woman leaves her child behind and runs away. With no choice, the disciple takes in the kid as his own. As years pass, the kid grows older. The disciple, who's now the master, takes the boy to the forest to get some herbs. But during this time, the boy wanders off and ends up in the river where the master used to play. The boy catches a fish and forces a small pebble into his mouth, torturing it. The boy then grabs a frog and does the same, followed by a snake. The movie ends with the boy laughing while torturing animals. Always a pleasure having you guys around. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you had a good time today, and get ready for the next one.